Hey guys, before I start this video, I've created a Facebook group for job seekers and for students here in Germany. So there's a lot of discussions happening. If you have any questions, if you want to clarify some things, feel free to come and join. The links are in the description, the top two links, one for job seekers, one for students. Let's start today's video. Alright guys, let's start with today's video. I'm sitting here with Johanna. We're going to be talking about our experience when it comes to dating. Living here in Berlin is a quite international city, right? I've not always dated German, but I will still bring out my experience dating German specifically, and she's going to be doing the vice versa. I mean, we have few points which we would like to discuss. Like there are like 3 or 4 points of discussion. We're just going to go round by round. Why don't you just go ahead with your first one?
Okay, the first one would be, where do you meet people for a date? Or where can you meet people to date, actually? So, for example, I've met people through courses, sports, parties, and also online dating apps. What about you?
Online dating apps are really big here. There are like some of the companies which I know is, of course, Tinder. Everyone knows about Tinder, but
Bumble.
there's also Bumble. There's also Lovo. There's also OkCupid or Cupid, something like that. Cupid, yeah, something like that. Exactly. See, she knows better.
Grindr.
Grindr is quite famous in US, I know.
Yeah, it's famous here for people that are homosexual.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know that, but yeah. Okay. Also, I think it is important for us to talk about, because before coming to Germany or Europe in general, for me everything was relationship. Okay. Do you know what I mean? So I learned the real definition of, there's a difference between dating and there's a difference between being in a relationship here. Because when someone is saying that I'm dating someone, that means they're dating, they're not in a relationship. Dating could be with multiple people, but if someone says like, hey, you know what, I'm in a relationship, that means they're in a real serious relationship. And
or in an open relationship, that's also a possibility.
Yeah. Apps are quite big. You can meet people at social gatherings.
Yeah.
Or sport events, dance classes, yoga classes, where you get to know people at their deepest level. Like, you know, like you really want to go out on a date or not. Other than that, my experience has always been successful when you go out for a party.
Or a concert.
Or a concert, really. And I don't know, I've never been to concert. I don't know how it works out there.
You should go to concerts that are a little bit smaller, where you only pay like 25 euros.
Exactly. Okay.
Not like big Olympiastadion concert. But like the smaller ones where like, a lot of people are open-minded and like you maybe have already had a beer or two and people are friendly to everyone.
And then
start conversation from there on.
Right. Also, in my experience, when you meet people at such occasions, try not to beat around the bush. Like, what do you want? If you set your expectations, it has always worked out.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to date you, or hey, I want to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah.
So it helps both the sides. Like, okay, because a lot of times it has happened that the other person is asking more, like, but you just want to be friends with me.
Exactly. Yeah. You should set ground rules at one point.
Let's keep this short because we have other points also. So apps, clubs, community events, or anywhere could be.
Yeah, on the street.
On the street, I met her. Things could happen anywhere, you know. Keep your eyes open. All right, let's move on to the next part.
What was an experience you could give when you dated a local here?
So in my experience, something which I can share with you guys, which you might notice it when you travel abroad also. I don't know how it happens if you go to Asia or other parts of Asia or US. In Germany, I've always seen that when you go out on a date and when it comes to time to pay the bills, you always separate the bills, right?
Yeah.
But again, it can be debated, I feel, right? So there are like few conditions which go along with it. One, who has invited the person for date? If I invited like, hey Johanna, let's go out for dinner, that means it is expected that things have to be arranged by me. Restaurant, wherever we decide to go.
Yeah, and the same goes for me. So if I ask a guy, hey, let's go out for dinner, then I'll pay probably. Yeah.
Right. And there are also occasions where you don't want to meet the person next time, and you're like, okay, I don't know if I want to meet her next time or not. As a courtesy, I always paid, but then there were occasions also girl paid her share and I pay my share.
Yeah, that's very common here.
Right?
You can do nothing wrong with that, actually.
Exactly, and there's no harm doing that you're doing to the relationship, which whatever relationship you want to call that. Also, other point is here, the waiter will always ask you before you pay the bill.
They will ask zusammen oder getrennt.
Yeah.
Which means together.
Together or separate.
Separate.
Separate. As I said, it goes back to our previous points. Then you either want to separate the bill or you just pay it once. It is important to give her a gateway. Like, hey, you know what? If you want to split the bill, we can. Otherwise, this is on me. And probably we can do it next time. Then you're giving her an option also, I feel. You know?
Yeah.
Also, the other point what I want to bring out is, in my experience, when I was dating someone German, they're very adaptive. Like, they are very curious people to know your culture, and especially when I come from India, and India's culture is pretty loud abroad, and everybody wants to know about India, the culture, the color, the Bollywood, the food, yoga, I don't know what not. There are a lot of topics for people to speak about India, and it is important for you to be a good ambassador of where you come from. I feel like, irrespective,
know your facts.
Know your facts.
Because we don't.
Exactly. And what I started doing is I started reading more and more about India, and not passing sweeping statements like that, or not being subjective. Like, I feel, in my opinions don't work here. And especially when you're quoting something like, hey, you know what, 40% of people are above the age of whatever. People do tend to say all these things. So yeah, this is just a curiosity. And also, in my view, when I pick up this topic, they're really interested. These are high intellectual people I'm talking about, whom I've dated. Okay.
We have also different classes in
exactly.
Germany.
Yeah.
I was thinking, isn't it always the way that if you're interested in that person in dating, that you want to know about their background, about their family, and where they come from? Right.
I think it goes back to the point, what do you want out of that dating? Do you want your dating to convert into relationship? Then I might have a solid interest. But this interest, the thing what I'm talking about, comes over the course of time. But I've always seen people talking very passionately about India.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, because we know like a lot of influences that come here from India, and they've evolved, of course, also. And I think it's interesting to know what is still real and what is Indian German, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, always be proud where you come from and represent that with highest degree of reward. All right, so Johanna, I have a last point for you, and a very curious question, and it can open a lot of big topics and discussion. All right, do you think, in your view, people are in a hurry to move on with one dating to the other, or do multiple dating at the same time, or not stick with one partner?
Yeah, that's very common here, especially when you're young. So until the age of 30, everyone thinks about like, let's get experiences, let's like live in the moment, let's have multiple people at once, date girls, guys, find out what we like, what we don't like, and then find out what we want to do with our life. Like,
when I learned this whole definition of dating system, like how does it all work like? Because before that, I was always like one at a time, Yeah.
It's a common thing here to split up once it gets harder, or once you have to work for the relationship. People tend to move on and say like, okay, it doesn't work, but they don't put effort in the relationship. Right. Yeah, that's really common.
Right, but yeah, it is also important to highlight that this thing what I'm talking about, this point what we both are talking about, this doesn't apply to everyone. Like, not everyone is like fucking around all the time. There are people who like one person and a deep relationship. There are people like that, but the current notion in Berlin, at least I know, it's like, whoa, there's the whole wave is multiple dates, and it's like that.
So yeah, of course, we can only talk about things we've experienced or
Right.
people we've met. So that might vary from city to city of Germany as well. So
Again, we don't want to generalize everything what we have discussed right now. It's all specific to her experience and my experience. People who are watching on the other side, or if you're in Germany already, you will have a different experience. And whatever I saw on the way, at least here in Berlin, and it was so different than other part of Germany maybe.
yeah, so this is kind of a huge disclaimer here
Exactly,
for
like,
everyone
yeah,
who
yeah.
has had different experiences.
That's
of
true.
course, that happens here too.
Yeah. All right, guys. So on this note, I would like to say goodbye. And if you enjoyed it, hit that thumbs up button. And yeah, we will come up with another point of view video on a different topic. And make sure that if you have some topic in your mind, leave it in the comment section, and we can come up with another thing.
Or write us on Instagram.
Oh yeah. For now, I will say goodbye and take it easy. Bye bye.
Bye.